Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. Today's topic is one of the most important steps in learning English, thinking in English. My name is Scarlett. I want to tell you about my journey, how I trained my brain to think in English. It wasn't easy at first, but slowly I found my way. And today, I'm going to share it with you step by step. For a long time, I thought I was learning English the right way. I watched videos on YouTube, followed English pages on Instagram, and even tried reading English storybooks for kids. I had notebooks full of English words and their meanings in my own language. Every day I practiced vocabulary and repeated common phrases like, "How are you?" and "Nice to meet you." I was proud of myself. I thought I was doing well. But even with all that effort, something felt strange. When someone spoke to me in English, I paused. My brain didn't react fast. First, I had to hear the English words. Then I had to change them into my own language to understand them. After that, I had to think of a reply in my language and then change it into English again before I spoke. This took so much time. It made me nervous and slow. I felt like my brain was carrying too much weight. At first, I didn't know what the real problem was. I just thought maybe I needed to study more words. Maybe my grammar was weak. So I kept learning. I wrote new words every day. I repeated grammar rules like do and does, is and are, past tense and present tense. But nothing changed. I still had to translate everything in my mind. I still couldn't speak smoothly. One day, I was trying to speak with a tourist at a museum in my town. He asked me, "How far is the main street from here?" I knew what how far meant. I knew what Main Street meant. But even then, I froze. My brain first heard the question, turned it into my native language, searched for an answer, then tried to change it into English. By the time I opened my mouth, the man had already walked away. I felt so embarrassed. That moment stayed with me. I knew something had to change. That night, I sat on my bed and thought deeply. Why can't I speak fast like native speakers? I asked myself. Why is it so hard for me to think in English? I remembered my English teacher once told me fluent English is not just about knowing words, it's about thinking in English. At that time, I didn't really understand her words, but now it hit me hard. I finally understood the problem. My brain was still living in my first language. Even though I had English books and English videos around me, my thoughts were not in English. My inner voice, yes, that little voice that speaks in your head when you're alone, was still using my native words. It was like I had two worlds. The world outside was trying to be English, but the world inside my head was not ready. Once I noticed this, I began watching myself more closely. I paid attention to what I was thinking. When I woke up, my brain said, "I have to brush my teeth," but it said it in my own language. When I saw a dog on the street, I thought, "That's a cute dog," But again, it was not in English. Everything I saw, felt, or said to myself was in the language I grew up with. English was only something I used when I needed to write or speak in class. It was not part of my daily thoughts. This was the reason why my speaking was slow. I wasn't used to thinking in English, so I couldn't respond quickly. I had built a wall in my mind between English and the rest of my life. So I made a decision. I told myself, Scarlett, if you want to speak English better, you have to stop thinking in your first language. I didn't know how to do it. It sounded strange and scary, but I wanted to try. The next day, I began small. I woke up and looked around my room. I forced myself to name things in English. This is a bed. That is a window. My blanket is blue. I said the words in my mind. No voice, just quiet thoughts. It felt a little slow, but I kept going. When I brushed my teeth, I said to myself, I am brushing my teeth. My toothpaste is minty. The water is cold. I didn't care if it sounded silly. I just wanted to break the old habit. Later, while walking outside, I tried again. I looked at the trees and thought, the leaves are green. The sun is bright. I see a dog. These were very simple thoughts, but something interesting happened. My brain didn't fight me. It accepted the new way. I didn't feel tired or confused. In fact, it felt fun. It was like I was a little kid learning to see the world in a new way. For the first time, English was not just a subject I studied. It became part of my thinking. I kept doing this all day for small things. In the kitchen, I thought, I am washing the dishes. While folding my clothes, I said, this shirt is clean. These pants are soft. I started talking to myself more and more in my mind. It felt like I had a new friend inside me, an English-speaking version of myself. Still, it wasn't perfect. Sometimes I didn't know the English word for something. Like once I saw a bird on a wire and I wanted to describe it, but I didn't know the word wire. I felt stuck. For a moment, I thought of saying the word in my language, but then I told myself, no, Scarlett, stay in English. So I said in my mind, the bird is sitting on a line, a black line, maybe a rope. It wasn't correct, but I stayed in English. That was a win for me. I learned that it's okay to not know perfect words. What matters is staying in the language. The more I stayed in English, the more comfortable I felt. My brain started getting used to it. Thinking in English became a small habit that I repeated every day. A week passed, and I noticed something amazing. When I looked at a chair, my brain said, chair right away, not the word from my first language. When I felt hungry, I didn't think I'm hungry in my old language. I thought it in English first. Even my dreams started to change. One night, I dreamed I was in a grocery store asking the worker, where is the sugar? I woke up smiling. I was so happy because this was the first time I dreamed in English. It showed me that my brain was slowly switching. English was starting to live in my mind naturally. But of course, this was just the beginning. I still had a long way to go. Thinking in English for a few minutes was nice, but I wanted to do it all day. I wanted to be able to think fast, speak easily, and not return to my old language. So I started looking for more ways to stay inside English. I realized I needed more practice, not just with thinking, but also with speaking, even if I had no one to talk to. That's when a new idea came into my mind. I asked myself, what if I start speaking to myself out loud in English? I was already thinking in English at least sometimes. But now I wanted to take the next step. I wanted to use my voice and speak to myself like I was talking to a friend. It sounded funny, but I thought it could help. My heart felt excited and nervous at the same time. That moment was the start of something new, something even more powerful. I didn't know it then, but what came next would change my English even faster. It would build my confidence and help me stay in the English world longer. After I noticed how often my thoughts were in my first language, and I started trying to think in English, my world slowly began to change. But even though my thoughts were becoming English little by little, I felt there was still something missing. It was like planting a seed, but not watering it enough. I needed more. Just thinking in English helped. Yes, but I wanted to speak fluently, not just think quietly inside my head. One morning I was brushing my hair and thinking in English, saying in my mind, "My hair is long. It looks shiny today. I need to wash it tomorrow." But then I stopped and looked in the mirror. I whispered those same words out loud, just very softly. My hair is long. It looks shiny today. I need to wash it tomorrow. The sound of my voice in English surprised me. It made everything feel more real. And in that tiny moment, I had a new idea that changed everything. I thought, what if I speak to myself out loud in English all the time? Not just in my head, not just when I write or read, but actually speak to myself, like I'm having a conversation with a friend. But that friend is me. It felt strange at first. After all, people say talking to yourself is weird. But I wasn't doing it to be silly. I was doing it to train my brain. If I could hear my own voice speaking English every day, maybe my mouth would get used to it. Maybe my brain would start to connect my thoughts and my speech faster. Maybe, just maybe, I could break that slow habit of translating everything from my first language to English before I speak. That same day, I started small. I walked to the kitchen and said out loud, "I'm going to make some tea." My voice was soft. I was alone and I felt a little shy even though no one was watching. I opened the drawer. I need a spoon. I picked up the cup. This is my favorite cup. I put the water to boil. The water is hot now. These were simple lines, but they helped me build something big. It was the start of a new habit. That entire day, I talked to myself while doing little things. While folding laundry, I said, "This shirt is mine. I wore it yesterday. It still smells fresh." When I was cleaning my room, I said, "I should throw away this paper. I don't need it." Even when I went outside, I whispered quietly to myself, "The weather is nice. It's not too cold today." At first, it was difficult to remember to do it all the time. My brain still wanted to switch back to my first language, but I didn't give up. I reminded myself again and again. Scarlett, speak in English. So I started setting little reminders on my phone with messages like talk in English or think and speak, not just think. These reminders would pop up during the day and gently push me to continue the habit. I began enjoying it. It was like building a new friendship with my voice. I didn't need perfect grammar. I didn't care if I made mistakes. I just wanted to hear myself say words in English. Slowly, I became more comfortable. Soon, I realized something wonderful. My voice and my thoughts were becoming one. Before my brain would think in my first language and I had to push myself to speak English. Now the thoughts and the voice both came in English. It wasn't perfect, of course. Sometimes I forgot words, but I found ways to keep speaking. If I didn't know the word vacuum cleaner, I would just say the machine that cleans the carpet. If I didn't know how to say hanger, I'd say the thing I use to hang my shirt. I stopped worrying about finding the perfect word. I just kept going. And the more I kept going, the more my confidence grew. I also started creating little stories out loud while walking around. For example, if I was cooking rice, I would say, "Now I am going to make some rice. First, I will wash it. The water is cloudy. That means it's dirty. Now I pour the water out. Now I will cook it. I hope I don't burn it like last time." I laughed at myself sometimes. It was funny to hear myself telling small stories about such boring things, but it made the process fun, and most importantly, it helped me stay inside the English world longer. The longer I stayed inside English, the easier it became. One time, I even played a game with myself. I pretended I was making a YouTube video. I turned on my phone camera but didn't record, and I said, "Hello everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I will show you how to make my special tea. First, we take the water. Then we add some ginger. Now we boil it." I acted like a real host. I smiled while speaking. I laughed when I forgot words and just kept going. I was playing, but I was also learning. I was training my voice to become friendly with English. Another day, I sat in front of my mirror and practiced conversations. I said, "Hi, my name is Scarlett." "Nice to meet you. How are you?" "I'm doing well. Thank you. What do you do?" Then I would answer as if I were the other person. "Oh, I'm a student. I love learning languages. Then I'd go back to being me. I even added hand gestures and facial expressions. I wanted to feel natural. I wanted to train myself for real conversations by making fake ones. And little by little, I started noticing changes. When someone spoke English to me in real life, I didn't freeze. My brain didn't stop. I was ready to speak back. My answers came faster. My voice didn't shake. My words flowed better. Of course, there were still tough days. Some mornings I woke up tired and didn't feel like talking at all. On those days, I gave myself a break. But I still tried to do a little. Even if it was just one sentence like, "Today I am feeling sleepy." I kept the chain alive. I learned that talking to myself in English didn't need to be a perfect performance. It was just a quiet promise I made to myself to keep speaking no matter what. And even when I was around people, I found clever ways to continue my habit. If I was walking to the grocery store, I would whisper softly under my mask. If I was on a bus, I'd pretend I was listening to music while quietly talking about what I saw outside. There's a boy with a red backpack. That woman has a kind face. The sky looks gray today. These small sentences helped my brain stay connected to English all day long. Then something very special happened. One afternoon, I was walking in the park and saw a tourist family asking for directions. They were looking around, confused. I walked up to them and said, "Do you need help?" The man smiled and asked, "Yes. Can you tell us how to get to the central library?" And to my surprise, I didn't freeze. I didn't need to translate anything in my mind. I just said, "Yes, go straight down this road, then turn right at the traffic light. It's the big building with blue glass windows." The words came naturally. I felt no fear. I felt strong. I felt proud. As I walked away, I whispered to myself, "You did it, Scarlett. This is working." That night, I sat on my bed and thought about my journey so far. From being stuck in my own language to thinking in English to now speaking to myself all day. I had come so far. I realized that fluency is not just about grammar books or long vocabulary lists. It's about practice. Real, daily, simple practice. And for me, talking to myself became the most powerful way to train my speaking. It was like building a muscle. The more I used it, the stronger it got. But there was still one more thing I wanted to do. I wanted to use English in more places, not just at home or in my room. I wanted to use it during my real daily activities while shopping, walking, cooking, cleaning, and everything else. I knew this next step would take more courage. I would have to use English even when people might hear me or look at me. I would have to carry English with me everywhere. After I started speaking to myself in English all the time, I noticed something else. Even though I was saying many sentences in English every day, my brain still had an old habit. It kept translating from my first language before I spoke. It was like my thoughts were wearing a heavy coat that they didn't need anymore. That coat was translation. I would think of something in my native language, then try to find the English version of it. And that step, the translation step, was slowing me down. It made me speak slower. It made me feel less natural. I wanted to speak freely, like the way I did in my first language. But how could I do that if I kept translating every sentence before I said it? One morning, I was making toast in the kitchen. As usual, I was speaking to myself in English. I said, I need to, take the toaster. No, wait. I need to warm the bread. I had paused because I couldn't remember the exact word for putting the bread inside the toaster. I got stuck. My brain was searching in my first language and trying to bring the English word from there. That's when I realized something important. I didn't have to say everything perfectly. I didn't need fancy words. I didn't need long, hard sentences. I could just use easy words, words I already knew, and trust them. So instead of saying something like, I am placing the slices of bread into the toaster in order to prepare breakfast, I said I put the bread in. Now I wait. When it's ready, I will eat. It was simple. It was not perfect, but it was clear. I understood it. If someone else heard it, they would understand too. That's all that mattered. I decided that day to stop translating and start trusting. I would trust my easy English words. I told myself, Scarlett, you know enough. Use what you have. Stop waiting to be perfect. Start being brave. And with that new mindset, I made a promise. I would no longer think in my language first. I would use English directly, even if it was just with the words I already knew. I believed that fluency wasn't about using big, smart words. It was about using simple words smoothly and without fear. That day, I practiced more. When I walked outside, I didn't say in my mind, okay, first in my language. Then, how do I say that in English? No, I just looked around and spoke in English. Right away, I said, that tree is tall. The wind is cold. I like walking today. These were short sentences, but they were real. They came from my heart, and they came straight in English. It felt strange at first. I had lived so many years thinking in one language and translating everything. My brain wanted to go back to that comfort, but I didn't let it. Every time I felt the old habit coming back, I stopped and reminded myself, no translation. Easy English is enough. I even started writing that sentence in my notebook. Easy English is enough. I repeated it every day. I wrote it on sticky notes and put them on my wall. When I looked in the mirror, I'd smile and say, easy words, strong brain. Soon, this became my new rule. I would only use English that I already knew. If I forgot a word, I would not stop. I would not go to the dictionary right away. Instead, I would describe the word using other simple words. One time, I forgot how to say ladder. I didn't stop. I said, that thing you climb when you want to go higher, like on the wall. That was enough. My brain stayed in English. I didn't break the chain. I started enjoying this little game. I would pick one simple word, like run, and build sentences around it. I run fast. I run when I'm late. I don't like to run too much. Then I'd pick another like water. Water is cold. I drink water. I cook with water. Water is good for health. By trusting these simple words, I was building my fluency like building blocks. Each easy word was like a brick. And soon, I had a strong wall of understanding and speaking. One evening, I met a woman in a local bookstore. She was looking at English novels, and I saw she was also a learner like me. We started talking. She said, "I always wait before speaking. I need to think in my language first." I smiled and told her, "I used to do that too, but now I don't. I just speak with easy words." She looked surprised. "Really? Isn't that too simple?" I told her, "It's simple, but it works." Fluency is not about using big words. It's about not stopping. She nodded. We had a long talk, both of us using only the English we were comfortable with, and it was a great conversation. That moment proved to me again, simple words are strong enough. As days passed, I stopped checking my phone for translations. Before I used to stop every time I didn't know a word. Now I just moved on. I trusted myself more. I was becoming a friend to my own English voice. My sentences were short, but my confidence was big. And that confidence started showing in real situations. One day I was in a coffee shop. A tourist couple was sitting near me and looking confused about the menu. The girl looked at me and asked, "Excuse me, can you help us?" I smiled and said, "Yes. What do you need?" She said, "We don't understand this item." "What is cold brew?" I thought quickly. I didn't know the exact words to explain how cold brew is made, but I used easy English. I said, "It's coffee, but cold. They make it slowly. It has strong taste." The girl smiled and said, "Thank you. That helps." I felt proud, not because I used perfect English, but because I didn't stop. I trusted my simple words, and they worked. That moment taught me something big. We don't need to wait until we know everything. We just need to use what we already know. Language is like music. You don't need to play every note. You just need to stay in rhythm. And for me, the rhythm came from simple English. I also realized that children learn languages this way. They don't start with big words. They use small, easy words. Eat, go, play, big, small, like, don't like. And guess what? People understand them. So I started thinking of myself like a child learning again. And that idea made me feel free. I didn't feel shy anymore. I didn't feel like I had to impress anyone. I just had to express myself. After that, I started helping other learners too. I told them, "Don't worry about fancy words. Just speak. Use the words you know." Some of them said, "But I sound like a beginner." I told them, "That's okay. Fluency means speaking without stopping, not speaking like a professor. We all laughed and we all practiced together. And the best part, we all got better just by using easy English. I made a journal too, but not a normal one. I called it my simple English journal. Every day I wrote 3 to 5 sentences in it, using only the words I was comfortable with. For example, today is sunny. I drank tea. I feel happy. I saw a cute dog. The dog was small and white. Simple, right? But every sentence was a small victory. Every sentence was proof that I could think and write and speak in English without translation and without fear. Now my days feel different. I wake up and think in English. I speak to myself using easy words. I write in my journal. I help others. And I do all of this without going back to my first language. It's like I've opened a new door in my brain. Behind that door is a place where I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be present. I just need to keep going. I remember how I used to sit and wait for the right word to come. I used to say, "Wait, I can't speak until I know the exact word." But now I speak first and learn later. If I don't know a word today, I will learn it tomorrow, but I won't let it stop me today. That's the power of trusting easy English. And now I was ready for the next step. I wanted to start thinking in English during every real-life activity I did. Shopping, cleaning, walking, cooking, and stay inside the English world every moment I could. After I stopped translating and began trusting the easy English words I already knew, something inside me changed. I felt lighter, like I was finally free to express myself without fear or stress. Speaking in English didn't feel like a job anymore. It started feeling like a part of who I was. But I knew that speaking to myself and writing simple sentences in a journal were only the beginning. If I truly wanted to make my brain think in English all the time, I had to go deeper. I had to turn every part of my life into a place where English lived. I had to use my daily life as my English practice room. The idea came to me one afternoon while folding laundry. I was matching socks and stacking t-shirts when I realized something. My hands were busy, but my brain was quiet. And then I asked myself, why am I not using this moment to practice English? I smiled, picked up a blue shirt, and said aloud, "This shirt is soft. I like this color. It's my favorite for weekends." And just like that, a normal chore became an English activity. It felt so natural. I kept talking. "These pants are a little tight. I should wear them less. Maybe I need to buy new ones soon." That small shift made a big difference. Suddenly, folding clothes wasn't just folding clothes anymore. It was language time. From that day on, I decided that every small task I did in a day could be my English practice. I made a promise to myself. Scarlett, don't wait for a perfect moment to practice English. Use the life you already have. So, I did. Every day, every activity became part of my learning. When I made breakfast, I spoke aloud in English. I need 2 eggs. Where is the butter? I'm making toast again. Maybe I should eat fruit instead. I didn't worry about grammar. I didn't care if the sentences were short or simple. I just kept going. Walking to the store became another practice room. I would look at everything I saw and describe it in English. The sky is cloudy today. That woman is wearing a red jacket. The man is walking fast. I think he's in a hurry. I didn't need anyone to listen. I didn't need a classroom or a lesson plan. The world around me was my classroom, and I was both the teacher and the student. Even grocery shopping became more fun. I would read the labels in English. I would think to myself, do I need milk? I still have some, but I need bananas. I want to try a new kind of cheese today. Then when I saw the cashier, I would smile and greet them in English. Hi, how are you? Even if they didn't answer in English or didn't speak it at all, it didn't matter. I was building my habits, and every small English thought was helping me grow. I started doing this with everything. Cleaning the house, cooking dinner, watering the plants, brushing my hair. I'd speak out loud if I was alone or whisper in my head if someone was nearby. I created little games too, like while making dinner, I'd name everything I used in English. Knife, spoon, bowl, salt, pepper, tomato, onion. Then I'd make a short story using those words. The tomato met the onion in the bowl. They danced with the salt and pepper. I laughed at myself sometimes, but that's what made it fun. Soon, my brain began doing something incredible. I didn't have to try to think in English anymore. It just started happening. I'd wake up and think, what day is it today? Oh, it's Tuesday. I have to do laundry. That thought came in English. No translation, no pause. That was the biggest gift I had given myself. By using English in my everyday life, I had trained my brain to choose it first. I also started writing simple to-do lists in English. Before I would write them in my native language, but now I'd write wash dishes, clean kitchen, call mom, buy apples, watch English video for 10 minutes. It felt good to see my daily life and my language practice come together. There was no line between learning and living anymore. They were the same. Watching TV was different too. Instead of watching in my first language, I started watching easy English shows, even cartoons or simple sitcoms. I didn't understand every word, but I didn't pause or rewind. I just watched and enjoyed. I kept the subtitles on in English too, so I could match the words with the sounds. At first, I was a little slow, but soon I started catching words without reading. Sometimes I'd repeat a funny line aloud just for fun. It made me feel like I was part of the show. Even music helped. I would listen to English songs and sing along. I didn't care if my voice was good or not. It wasn't about singing. It was about feeling the language. I learned how the words sounded when spoken quickly. I learned rhythm and tone. One song had the line, "Don't stop believing," and I sang it over and over until it became part of my thoughts. Sometimes I'd wake up in the morning and that line would be in my head. That's when I knew I was starting to live in English. I also started using English while texting my friends. At first, they were confused. "Why are you writing in English?" they asked. I told them I'm training my brain to think in English. "Can you help me?" Some of them joined me. We made it a small challenge. Let's text only in English for one day. And we did. That one day became many days. We started sending voice notes too, using easy English. We laughed at our mistakes but kept going. That support made me stronger. Of course, not every day was perfect. Some days I felt tired. Some days my brain wanted to switch back to my native language. But I kept reminding myself it's okay to be tired. Just say one sentence in English. Just one. And that one sentence always turned into two, then three, then more. I learned that showing up every day, even for 5 minutes, was more powerful than waiting for a perfect hour. I also noticed a big change when I was out in public. Before, I used to feel shy when I heard someone speaking English nearby. I was afraid to talk to them or even look at them. But now I felt curious. I'd listen, try to understand, and sometimes even join the conversation. One time I was waiting in line at a bakery, and 2 tourists behind me were confused about the menu. I turned around and said, "You should try the cinnamon roll. It's really good." They smiled and said, "Thank you. That helps a lot." My heart was racing, but I felt so happy. That moment happened because I had practiced every day, not with books, but with life. Every corner of my life had become my practice room. My kitchen was a vocabulary lab. My walk to the park was a speaking session. My bedtime thoughts were now in English. I even started dreaming in English. It wasn't every night, but when it happened, I would wake up smiling. I would whisper to myself, "You're doing it, Scarlett. You're really doing it." Using my daily life like this also helped me see that I didn't need to wait for a perfect place or time. The world around me was already full of lessons if I paid attention. A bus ride could teach me new signs. A trip to the market could teach me new words. Talking to myself while doing the dishes could build my grammar. Everything counted. One day, I stood in front of my mirror, looked into my eyes, and said, "This is the new you. You don't wait for English practice. You live it." I could feel the pride growing in my chest, and it wasn't just about English. It was about who I was becoming, confident, curious, and brave. By using my life as my practice room, I didn't just learn a language. I built a lifestyle. I created habits. I built trust with myself. I didn't need expensive courses or big books. I needed something simple to be present, to notice, and to keep going. and now I was ready for one more step. My brain was thinking in English. I was speaking without translation. I was using my whole day as a tool. But now I wanted to take it further. I wanted to learn how to stay inside that English world without getting tired. How to keep going even when things felt hard or slow. I wanted to know how to stay patient and enjoy the long journey. By the time I started using my daily life as my English practice room, something inside me had already begun to shift. I wasn't just practicing English anymore. I was living with it. I was thinking in it. I was dreaming in it. I was feeling in it. And it no longer felt like I was learning a second language. It started feeling like I had invited a quiet friend to stay inside my mind, one who whispered kind words in a new voice. That friend was English. But I knew something important. If I wanted to truly make English a part of me forever, I had to do more than just speak it sometimes or think in it when I remembered. I had to let English live inside my mind every single day, not as a visitor, not as a guest, but as a new part of my identity. That decision changed everything. I woke up every morning and gave myself a quiet promise. Scarlett, let today be another English day. I wasn't forcing myself. I wasn't rushing to be perfect. I was simply allowing English to be present in every part of my day. Just like how we breathe without thinking, I wanted English to flow through me naturally. I began with the smallest things. When I opened my eyes in the morning, I would greet the day in English. Good morning, Scarlett. What's the plan today? Then I'd stretch my arms and say, You've got this. These tiny moments felt warm and encouraging, like little love notes to myself. It wasn't about grammar or big vocabulary anymore. It was about building a home for English inside my thoughts. As I brushed my teeth or tied my shoes, I'd continue the conversation in my head. Don't forget your umbrella. It might rain. Should I wear the red shoes or the black ones? These sentences weren't perfect, but they were real, and they came from me, from my life. That's why they stuck. One thing I noticed was how my relationship with silence changed. Before, when I was quiet, my mind used to wander in my first language. I would daydream or think about the past. But now I invited English into those quiet moments too. If I was waiting in line or walking alone, I'd describe everything around me in simple English thoughts. That dog is so fluffy. The flowers look fresh. The old man has kind eyes. It became like background music in my brain, always playing softly, always comforting. I also realized that English didn't need to be serious all the time. It could be silly, playful, even weird. One day, I dropped a spoon while cooking and said aloud, "Oh no, spoon down." I laughed. That sentence wasn't from any book or class. It came from me. That's when I knew. English was no longer something I was borrowing. It was something I owned. To keep English alive in my mind, I made small habits part of my daily rhythm. One of them was journaling. Every night just before bed, I would open a simple notebook and write a few sentences about my day. Nothing fancy, just honest thoughts. Today was a little boring. I didn't go outside, but I watched a video about clouds. I learned some new words: thunder, lightning, storm. That 5-minute practice felt like brushing my brain with English. Another habit I loved was reading out loud. I didn't read long books or difficult articles. I picked short paragraphs, quotes, storybooks, funny news. I would read slowly like I was tasting the words. Sometimes I read in front of the mirror, pretending I was a news anchor or a YouTube star. Hello everyone, my name is Scarlett and today I'm going to tell you about my breakfast. I giggled, but I kept going. These playful moments gave me power. They reminded me that I was in control of my learning, but not every day was easy. Some mornings I felt lazy. Some evenings I felt tired. On those days, the voice in my head would try to pull me back. You can skip English today. One day won't matter.